Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everyone, to the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Amy McKenzie. Today's show, The Wow of Women, features the remarkable journeys of women whose powerful and extraordinary choices positively impact other people's lives as well as their own. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. Tamara Louvain is originally from Long Beach, California. She actually has a bachelor's in biology and zoology. She was a vet tech and went on to work in physical therapy. Tamara considers herself an avid student of all things related to health and natural remedies, and this has served her well when you learn more about what she's up to now. But she's also gifted as an artist as well. She's plied her talents as a photographer, a writer, a singer, and a musician. But she'd always longed to take her family out of the city and live off the land. Tamara started homesteading on 332 acres of land in 2012, raised her two teenagers there, and she has now been homesteading on her own for 4 years, living completely off the grid. And in fact, just recently launched her new blog, which we'll talk about. The goal for Healthy Homesteading Adventures is to show women how they can homestead alone, even if they're over the age of 50. And she passes on her mother's message, who taught her she could do anything. She just needed to learn how. I just love that. Tamara, it's such a joy to have you. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for that introduction.
Well, you have a wonderful variety of different skill sets. You've been a professional. You've done the out in the world thing. You've raised your children. But I just have to say, it really takes something to make the choice that you made. And, most people would be afraid of that. And I love that part of your message and part of your desire to start the blog was to really give people confidence that might be thinking they'd like to do it, but have been afraid to try. So, share with us, as you've gone through this journey, first of all, what was the aha moment when you realized, no, I'm going to do it. I really want to be self-sufficient. What was that moment for you?
Well, I had been attending a lot of different seminars of people encouraging moving out of the city because times are going to get worse as we near the time of Jesus' return. So I just kept praying for that opportunity to get a country home of my own. I was already living on 7 acres in Fallbrook, taking care of my mom's property there. And when she passed, it just became clear that we weren't going to be able to stay there. And I just was praying for the opportunity to find a piece of land, and I couldn't believe it. God opened up for me to find this property for 332 acres and only $90,000. And I couldn't believe it. It was such a steal. So I was prepared by already having lived for a few years on that country property, learning how to manage a grove and pipes and stuff. And definitely when you're starting a brand new property that doesn't have anything on it, a fresh homestead, you definitely need some knowledge about pipes, because you're going to have to know how to fix them, put them back together. So I'd learned a lot of practical stuff already, and I just know that there was a lot of things in my past, like learning about animals, the wildlife. I took a course called the Wild Animal Training Center and learned how to do their keeper course, and that prepared me to not be afraid of the wildlife quite so much, as most people might be terrified of the animals and things like that. So, Anything else?
So what I'm hearing is, that it's not something you just go buy a piece of land, no matter how good the deal is. If you don't have some kind of background and education, preparedness, and skill sets for this, that's made a big difference for you, is what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
well, that makes sense.
If you don't, and if you're not determined, a lot of people move out and then they go boo-hoo-wah and they give up. I mean, I know people who didn't like the snow and then moved back into the city. What? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't get a lot of snow here. Maybe it's always less than a foot. The most about 8-9 inches, which I never lived in the snow before. So that was a new experience for me.
Well, and where are you exactly?
I'm in French Gulch, California. It's
okay.
northwest,
all right.
about
so, yeah, some
25
winter.
miles northwest. What's that, my dear?
Northwest of what?
Of Redding, California.
Redding, California. Okay, so about Central State, right. Beautiful
it's actually
area.
Northern California.
Northern California, okay. Yeah, beautiful area.
Yeah.
So for you, I would imagine that what we're going through right now with this pandemic didn't actually probably change a whole lot for you. Is that right?
Well, I did get laid off from my job.
Okay, well, then there's that. In terms of lifestyle, though, in terms of the homesteading aspect, I'm sorry about the job. I mean, I understand that is a huge impact. But, aside from that piece, in terms of your daily lifestyle, would you say a lot changed?
Well, actually, I was so busy with work, I didn't exactly have a very big garden going. So because of being laid off and having all this free time and realizing I was not fully self-sufficient, I do have a good source of water from a spring, but I was not self-sufficient. It motivated me to get going on my garden, and I chose to do a hugelkultur garden, which is very interesting. I learned about it that you dig a trench and then you put logs and then branches and then leaves and then green material or compost of some kind, manure, and then you put your dirt and then you plant. And it helps hold the water in an area with drought. And we don't exactly get a lot of rain in the summer. So I thought it would be a good idea to try that this year.
That's great. And what did you call it? I didn't hear what you said.
It's called a hugelkultur, Hugelkultur, and it's German. The Germans actually started doing this.
Sounds very effective for that part of the country, especially.
Yeah. And already I planted on Mother's Day, and yesterday I had lots of little baby plants already coming up. So exciting.
Wow. Oh, that's terrific. You have good soil, too. So you've got, a lot of work there on that big a piece of property. How do you manage this by yourself?
Well, when I had my children here and my husband, I was always glad to let them do the work because I felt like I was too weak. And oftentimes, I did get an injury pulling on the pull start for the water pump, and that lasted me a couple of years. But it finally did get healed. But my son moved away, and then I divorced my husband, and then my daughter left, and now it's up to me. And I actually believe that if you're going to be doing something like this on your own, you need to have a good exercise program, for one. And I use the Royal Canadian Air Force exercise program. You can look that up on the internet. Yes, it's got 10 exercises and 4 tables that you work toward, and you start out. Well, you actually end up being able to do a push-up under that one exercise, but they all progress you. And if I wasn't doing this exercise program, I wouldn't be able to go up the mountain to check my spring and to change the filters on my tank. It just got me in such better shape. And when there's times that I'm not able to work, like in the winter, I've got to keep exercising at least 3 times a week, try to maintain my strength. Also, if you're going to move out into the country, if you're over 50 and you've been abusing your body by eating junk food, you're just going to be on your way to the nursing home already. I've seen people my age already ending up in the nursing home from abusing their body. So I try to prevent disease, and I've gone on a plant-based diet and without sugar, and I try to use supplementation from my Zija product, which has really been helpful. And I think that we need exercise and we need rest and we need fresh air, which I'm getting out here and out of the polluted city. We need sunshine. I'm sure getting a lot more sunshine now that I'm not working quite so much indoors. It's been great.
Yeah. Well, these are definitely great tips for anyone to, have prolong their life and enjoy the life that they have. And I know this kind of led to inspiring you. You've been working for some time and now have launched your blog, Healthy Homesteading Adventures. Talk to us about that a little bit. What's your intention with that?
Well, I actually wanted to try to start a blog to be able to earn money, to finish my home, and to eventually try to foster a large sibling group of children. There's such a need for that, and if anybody listening has a heart of gold and has a home that they can bring children, I would encourage that. But I had to think about what exactly would I blog about. Well, my daughter's boyfriend had told me a few years back that I should do a blog, and I'm like, huh? Me? I don't have time for that. If somebody plants a little idea in your head and you keep hearing about it on YouTube and stuff, and I finally made a decision in November that I would work towards it, only one day a week or so to have the time. But so I kept working at it, and my goal was to share homesteading, how to go about it, what am I also sharing what I'm doing right now. And I have a section for my music to share my scripture songs that I write and sing. I have a section on my pets, section on wildlife. I have that I'm going to have encounters with out here. I've already had lots of encounters. And you won't find a lot on there on all these subjects yet because it takes a lot of time to get on there. Also, I have a section on health, which I'm going to be teaching. I'll be showing the exercises and how to do the Royal Canadian Air Force exercise plan. It's not up there yet, but that's a goal. And teaching about the 8 natural doctors, which is nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trusting God. And then I'll be putting in there also acts of benevolence, which are very important for healing so that you can bring happiness to yourself, and an attitude of gratitude. And, of course, healthy thinking is all very important to health. So those are some of the categories I plan on writing about. It all takes time, but I'm getting it done. And lots of technical difficulties, learning how to do a blog and how to do YouTube videos. There's always something going wrong. But, you just got to learn to push forward and do it. And it's like you were sharing about my mother. It's just she just could do anything in my mind. I mean, she was building the house in Fallbrook, and I go, how'd you learn how to do this? She goes, my grandpa taught me. I'm like, what? Your grandpa teach you that? She just learned anything she could possibly learn. And Mom, how do you know how to fix that? She'd do plumbing. And she goes, well, if I don't know, I just go to Home Depot and I ask them how to do it. What a novel idea. So you can save a lot of money. I have fixed so many things on my own because I just go and ask. When my husband left, when we were going through the divorce, he was saying that he put in his little thing to the judge, well, I did this, that, and the other, and she won't know how to do it. She won't know how to run the place, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, he couldn't steal the property on that benefit. It was paid for with my inheritance, so he couldn't do it. But the thing was, once he left, what did I know how to do? Did I know anything really about the generators, when to change the oil? Did I know about the battery setup? No. But I had friends that would come and help me and figure out how to I learned how to put the water in the batteries, and actually kind of do now. But I eventually learned how to change the filter to for the water coming to the house or to the motorhome. We have water fed right into the motorhome. And I found out when I first went to change it that there was no filter in there at all, Amy. Get it out. So
oh, geez.
I was having unfiltered water.
Oh, wow.
But,
so
I
you
learned how to do propane
step.
to the motorhome. Lots of
wow.
stuff. There's just so many things being off-grid.
Yeah. But then I think it's incredibly empowering.
Yes, it is. the more you learn how to do and the more you do on your own, you just feel like you can conquer the world and do anything. And strength is really important. If you don't have strength, I'd recommend a dolly, because I have to bring 5-gallon jugs of gasoline from the generator, and I get the 5-gallon propane tank, and then I get 5-gallon jugs of kerosene. I use a kerosene heater in the winter. So they're all heavy, and if you don't have the strength, it's good to just have a dolly to save your shoulders and your arms. But I often don't use the dolly. I've gotten the strength now that I don't have to use it. But, yep, you just get stronger.
But where there's a will, there's a way. right, exactly.
You gotta stay strong.
You know, you took it on, and I think that's what's so
inspiring. Contact me. What's that, my dear? What?
You took it on, and that's what's so inspiring.
Yeah. To me, it's just, I love it. I love being right just a few feet from the creek. It's just like 50 feet below me. And before, when I lived in Fallbrook on my mother's property, I had to walk a half mile to get to the creek. I love being by water. This is what I prayed for. In fact, if you're going to look for a property, the most important thing is water. You know, you've got to have a source of water.
It's incredible to have a fresh spring there. But yeah, as I was saying, it's really inspiring that you have taught yourself how to do these things, and you know, or found people that could help you learn how to do it one step at a time. And as you move forward through this process, 4 years now, you have a right to blog about homesteading because you're really doing it. You're not just depending on the other members of your family, you know, and I love that your just authenticity about that, you know. Thank you for being so transparent I kind of let them all do it. And then when they were gone, I realized, well, you know what? Either I make this work or I don't get to stay here. So you took it on. And I think that it's really important for people to realize that, you know, whatever work or challenge there is in learning to be self-sufficient, the reward is empowerment. And you certainly have that now. It's really very exciting to me to think that anybody, and I love that you're so open about, you know, whatever age you are, right, that you could be a little bit further on in life and still make this kind of a change in your life and pull it off with a plum as you are, right? That's really great, Tamara.
And one of the amazing things is that I always considered myself not mechanical, and you got to depend on somebody else to be mechanical. But, you know, I came with a tractor, and when we were splitting, my ex, he took my tractor, and it was actually mine, and I had to get it back. And the day I got it back, I started to use it, and the tire blew. And now I was left with, whoa, how do you change a tractor tire? It didn't. It has a very deep. The wheel is in really deep, and I had to figure out a way to use my what do you call that thing, the wrench, to get it off, and I had to use a pipe hooked onto the end for leverage. So, you know, I was figuring all these things out, and I've learned how to change the oil, and also I did a video on YouTube for one of my first homesteading, several videos showing how I actually diagnose and fix a problem where in the winter, if you don't have something else in your fuel, the fuel will actually gel up. When it's diesel, it'll gel from the cold, and it gels up in the line and in the fuel filter, and then it won't run. So I just showed on the video how you can drain it. So it's just really nice to be self-sufficient with that, because can you imagine if I had to rent a trailer and take my tractor to a tractor place to have them fix it?
Right.
And the generators. That's another thing. I started out with one large generator, and then when it would break down, when my daughter was here, we would try to slide it. We would slide it up 2 big metal ramps. And then when she's gone, I'm like, how am I going to take it? So I asked my neighbor one day if he would help me with my generator, and he told me, get some chains and put them around, you know, around your generator, and you can lift it with your tractor. So now I've learned how to be self-sufficient, and I can lift my generator into the back of my truck with my tractor. It's really great.
Wow. That's so great. I love it. All right, before we run out of time, I want to ask you, what's your favorite? Just tell me one of your favorite wildlife experiences while you've been out there, because I mean, you literally studied zoology and wildlife, and I know that you've got some bears up there messing with their water lines because you mentioned that. But what's one of your favorite anecdotes about living with wild animals or near them?
Well, this is going to be I'm working on putting this on my post, but I'll give you all a preview of it. So I started to wash my truck one day, and I heard this, I heard a baby deer screaming, going, "Wah! Wah!" That's how they sound, okay? And I'm a pretty good imitator. So I started running as fast as I could, yelling, "Leave it alone, leave it alone." And I could see down my driveway, the little deer ran across my path, but it was like 50 feet away yet. And I saw some big cat. I wasn't sure what it was because it was bigger than a bobcat but smaller than a mountain lion. And it was just one big blur of movement running past. Well, I grabbed a piece of metal from a frame to make a covering for my tractor, and that had blown over in the wind. So I grabbed this support that was about 4 or 5 feet long. And I started running, and I'm like, "Leave it alone, leave it alone." And then the sound of the baby deer stopped, and I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm going to be too late." So I turned left down towards the creek, and I stopped by a place where a big hole had been dug and it was filled with water. And I looked, and then I'm like, where could he be? And I turned to my right, and there I am staring right into the eyes. It was only about 10, 12 feet away of this young mountain lion, and it was crouched over the deer. And I had my pole right in front of me, and I looked him straight in the eyes, and I had this mean look on my face, and I said, "Get!" And you should have seen him take off running. And so then I noticed that the baby deer went into agonal breathing, and I thought, oh, no, what have I done? I have now kept this mountain lion from having its dinner, and the deer's going to die. And I'm crying out to the mountain lion, "I'm sorry, come back and get it." And I'm praying that God would heal the little deer. But then after a while, I noticed that it wasn't agonal breathing. It was actually breathing more normal. So what happened was that God made it so that these animals go into shock and that they won't feel pain when they're being eaten alive. So I picked it up and took it back to my backyard and tried cleaning it up a little bit from the poison oak I knew it would have gone through. And then when it woke up, the sad thing was that it couldn't stand on its feet. It kept falling over and hitting its head. And the struggle I had trying to protect it and keep it from killing itself, put it in a box, try to tie its legs so it would stop kicking. No, it didn't work. I finally stuck it in the motorhome because I could not sleep. And it got out of the box, of course. But in the morning, it had improved. And I had a harness on it, so I was able to help it try to walk. This again was all from shock. It made it so it couldn't move, and it had a gash in the back flank of one of its legs, and I put some natural remedy. It was pine pitch salve that I had. It finally got so it could walk, and I had been in contact with the animal rescue people, and they said I needed to let it go. So it got so it could run a little bit, so I took it back and released it, and it went up the trail, which was a deer trail, right opposite where I saw it run across the road onto my property. So let me tell you, that was a nightmare. I was almost feeling like, why did I rescue this deer? It's driving me crazy. They kick. It was so strong. Its back legs were so strong and kicking, and it was a real struggle just to restrain it and try to help it. But it was so cute. It would go, just so scared looking at me. That was in the morning when I was going to release it. You'll see those videos. I took videos of that. Eventually I'm going to put it up.
Oh, great. Oh, that's great.
My most exciting.
Well, yeah, so I guess if you're going to live with wildlife, you have to let wildlife do what it does, I guess. Not that it's easy.
I guess. I don't know. It's just like, I don't want to let them.
Mountain lions should get to eat too.
I know.
I wouldn't want to watch it, though. Yeah, so it's a very different life, you know. The cosmopolitan lifestyle isn't going to encounter, you know, mountain lions 12 feet away gnawing on a baby deer. I mean, it's pretty intense, but it's also, you know, an incredible experience, and I really appreciate you taking the time today to share some of what you're doing, and just to acknowledge and applaud you for your courage and your bravery. In just taking that on. And any parting thoughts here before we close out the show today?
Well, I just want to say that being all alone, you might go crazy, but I have 7 cats and 3 rabbits, and so they keep me company and have a lot of fun with them. But when you're out alone, too, it's just nice to be willing to share with friends that have problems, say they stay on Facebook or they call you and say they're having health issues and they ask for prayer, and I always pray for people that I always say, what's the problem? Let's see if we can find out an answer to your problem. And I'll research for them and try to help them find what they can do to have that health. And I'm just going to say to everybody listening that if you do have a health problem, there is an answer, and not to give up. Sometimes it takes a while, but you just have to keep searching. There's a lot of videos on YouTube you can search to try to find an answer, a natural remedy or something that you can do to bring healing. And
yeah. Well, that's true, and I also kudos to you for your plans on, you know, creating a home, a place for those in need, and really sharing what you have. I know that's your next step, and that you mentioned earlier, and I just think that's wonderful. It's really great to share your place and your knowledge and everything you're up to. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, Tamara.
You're welcome.
In closing, I really want to thank our remarkable guest, of course, all of our listeners, and our producer, the founder of Divas That Care Network, Candace Gish. Candace actually redefines the word diva to mean a courageously self-assured woman. And Tamara, you fit that bill. The Divas That Care Network offers women of all walks of life a platform for sharing their voice in the world, much as Tamara just did. We invite you to join us. Visit divasthatcare.com. You can hear more inspiring stories, and who knows, perhaps one of these days you'll want to add your voice to the conversation. We'd love to have you. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Good night. Until next time. Signing out.